Well, good morning. We can't officially start the meeting because we don't have a quorum. It will be here. Hopefully our fifth person will be here soon. But we'll go ahead and start with one item from the chairman, which is a presentation from our Central Oklahoma Long Range Transit Plan project update presented by Kimberly Horn with Luke Schmidt. I'm going to give the report if he wants to go ahead and start us off. We would love to hear the report.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yes.
Thank you all for having me here today. My name is Luke Schmidt with the Kimberly Horn team, here to give you an update on the Long Range Transit Plan, all the great work that's been going, and then also we're going to talk a little about the vision and next steps. All right, perfect. So today we're going to do a quick recap of some of the discussions we've had over the last handful of months, really spend the bulk of our time talking about the transit vision and how we deliver the vision and next steps. So as a reminder, many different entities and project partners participated in this LRTP, being led by Embark, MAPS4, and ACOG, with MAPS4 and ACOG providing funding for this project. All the major operating partners with RTA, CityLink, and Norman Transit were heavily involved, as well as many different government partners, including Norman, Edmond, ODOT, and Oklahoma City. The exciting thing about this project is ultimately this LRTP will be included in ACOG's MTP, and then that'll roll into the federal documents that are submitted here in the next year or so. So what's exciting about that is all of these recommendations will be recognized at a federal level, which then makes projects more competitive from a grant and funding standpoint. So we're really excited about the great work of this LRTP and funding opportunities in the future. So with that, let's do a quick project overview. A couple of things we wanted to highlight is just how important this plan is for the growth of the region. From ACOG's perspective, we're seeing over the next 20 plus years over 400,000 new residents in Central Oklahoma, over 300,000 new jobs, and over 1 million annual trips increasing in Central Oklahoma. So there's a significant opportunity with this LRTP to capitalize on the growth of the region. The LRTP is really focused on opportunities for investment at the regional level, setting the framework to really build on planning efforts, and also how we invest in our local market to grow the economy. So really important opportunity with the LRTP. The LRTP is doing that through assessing local service and looking at future proactive operations, providing recommendations for an integrated network across Central Oklahoma, as well as key investments in the long-range transit vision. The goals established for this project out of the gate were focused on four major things. First and foremost is providing communities with meaningful access to transit, so expanding access, creating compelling and reliable rider experience, so that's really getting at attracting both transit-dependent and choice riders, offering competitive services, so expanding the types of services that are provided, and then last but not least, utilizing resources effectively. We know we live in a fiscally constrained world, so maximizing our dollars is really important for this effort. So as we talk about the schedule, there was three major phases: the assess, evaluate, and recommend. And here we are at the recommend phase. So we're approaching the end of the LRTP effort, and this is the last round of committee presentations providing updates. So just as a recap from some of our previous conversations, the LRTP is really focused on long-range 20 to 30-year horizon system-level recommendations. How we accomplish that is first and foremost identifying opportunities, leveraging both our planned high-capacity corridors as well as just local planning efforts from the different cities and stakeholder feedback. From there, universe of alternatives was developed, and then from there, a refined network was developed that we'll discuss today. So let's dive into the transit vision. The transit vision is made up of three primary horizons. There's the short, mid, and long-term horizon, and there's very specific elements that are included in these three buckets. First and foremost, in the short-term horizon, we're looking at including projects like the Northeast and South MAPS4 BRT corridor, as well as just expanded new high-frequency routes and key corridors and enhanced service. The midterm, which is the 10 to 20 year horizon, is really focused on the RTA investments and having those come online, as well as continued expansion of service through high frequency service in the core network and enhanced service bands on the core network as well. Then long-term is focused on additional high-capacity investments, as well as enhanced on-demand service that's more robust, as well as increasing service spans on all routes. So a really aggressive long-term vision with interim steps along the way. And this is really in reaction to a lot of the feedback that we heard from the public engagement. So you can see on the left, those are the items that we heard loud and clear from the community as far as desire for increased service, the need to improve transfers, the desire for transit service between jurisdictions, and prioritizing transit reliability so you can plan trips with confidence. This LRTP really addresses those items in many key different ways. So as we roll that all up into the long-term recommendation, the map on the right illustrates all of those planned service expansions in both the core network, fixed route, and on-demand zones. So especially wanted to highlight that. You can see in the map the areas in yellow. Those represent on-demand zones that are shown in the LRTP, which is a really exciting way to connect additional communities into the core system. With transit, we see a significant opportunity for economic development as well. So based on the American Public Transit Association, we see typically a 5-to-1 return on investment of transit investments. So what that means is additional connectivity to jobs and annual growth. We see the service itself has employment needs as well that feed into the local economy. And the more vehicles we can take off the road, that really decreases congestion on roads and delay on our current roadway infrastructure. So significant investments for both jobs and just the network as a whole. As we look at the long-term recommendations, this represents significant investment in transit across central Oklahoma, as well as significant operating and maintenance costs each year. This will connect to key destinations across central Oklahoma, as well as interconnect jurisdictions within central Oklahoma as well. So how do we deliver the vision? The most important part. The LRTP identified 4 major pillars that'll be a focus going forward. First and foremost is enhancing the rider experience. Second is diversifying services. Third is establishing strategic partnerships. And fourth is increasing reliable funding. So let's talk about those in a little bit more detail. So first and foremost, enhancing the rider experience is really focused on standardized branding, an integrated fare system across jurisdictions, so it's a similar experience for users. An investment in transit-oriented development. TODs are really important for ridership, especially around high-capacity corridors, and just really creating a seamless and intuitive system. The next item is the diversifying services. So this is thinking about all the tools in the toolbox to provide services to the users in the system. So that's expanding high-frequency routes, that's incorporating on-demand service, and even looking at off-peak service as well. So that's going to be a really important part of continuing to expand transit in central Oklahoma. Next is establishing strategic partnerships. So this is really focused on both public agency to public agency collaboration. This is further establishing public-private partnerships and then leveraging opportunities with nonprofit organizations. So that'll be an initial item that's really important to continue to expand the system with these partnerships and collaboration. And last but not least, increasing reliable funding. This is a very important part of expanding service in the LRTP. So leveraging not only local taxes, but continuing to develop opportunities for additional grant funding sources and private investment will be especially critical as we look to continue to expand services. As with any plan, similar to the fixed guideway study, it's really important that this will serve as the vision as we look the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So it's important to have a mechanism for updates. So through ACOG, it's anticipated this will be updated each 5 years as part of the MTP. That'll include many different things like reviewing current transit performance, stakeholder engagement, how is the existing service operating today, what new and emerging technologies are there that we can incorporate into the vision itself, and then continued updates on the action plan. So it's anticipated this will continually be revisited and updated as we look at the horizon year of this vision. So with that, next steps, Project website, connectcentralok.com, is still live for comments. The actual LRTP plan will be released towards the end of October for public comment as well. And that'll all be available via our website, connectcentralok.com. So with that, I'd love to open up to any questions.
Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation and the work. The streetcar expansion to the Innovation District, and where else did I see on there? I thought there were two places. Where was the other one?
There is innovation and then potentially the multi-use center. Right? Those were high-level thoughts on where the streetcar expansion can be. I mean, there'll be additional work to further validate that, but we wanted to in the LRTP include those additional connections for planning.
Is that an RTA conversation, or is that later down the road with like a subsequent revenue source conversation, election, or something like this? It's just the first time I don't remember hearing that.
Sure. Yeah, so the RTA is, again, focused on commuter rail, bus rapid transit to the east. This would be a city discussion for the streetcar expansion. Yep.
Okay, just checking. Okay, I don't have anything else to say about that for now. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Not, thank you very much, Luke.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your update. Okay, we now have a quorum, and we'll go ahead and call the October 3rd COPTA board meeting to order. One additional item from the chairman is that we have a Scribner's error on our agenda that lists Meg as the vice chairman. Actually, Jason Fairbrush is the vice chairman, so please note that. And then, moving on, are there any residents to be heard? There are none to be heard today. Then we'll move on to item 4, which is the approval of the minutes of our September 5th COPTA board meeting. Is there any comments or discussions? If not, is there a motion to? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote accordingly. Motion passes. Item 5 is our consent docket. There are 4 items on the consent docket. Are there any items that any of the trustees would like to discuss individually? If not, is there a motion to approve our consent docket? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to our items for individual consideration. The first one, item A, is to approve a professional service agreement with Staples Marketing, LLC, DBA, a firm agency, to provide marketing services at an annual cost not to exceed $160,000 from October 3rd, 2025 through October 2nd, 2028.
Yes, sir, Chairman. Good morning. For this item here, just a little background. So, each year we enter into a contract with a marketing firm to help us with marketing tasks. We put this item out to an RFP back in April, actually April 4th of this year. We actually received 10 proposals to take a look at, and our selection committee took a look at all those proposals, ultimately recommending moving forward with the contract with the firm. So just to give you an idea of some of the things that they'll be looking at, if we go back and look at the LRTP that was just presented, one of the items was brand identity and making sure that those brands tie together. So that's one of the tasks that they'll be looking at. A couple of other examples would be like the best placement for some of our media buys, right? So if you think about like our hall pass, what would be the best place to be able to have the maximum impact for our hall pass when it comes to the media? So they'll be looking at things like that. So staff recommends moving forward with this agreement. As you mentioned, the annual cost is not to exceed $160,000.
Okay, are there any comments or questions? If not, is there a motion to approve item number 1? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item B is to approve the agreement and adopt a resolution for sole source agreement authorizing the purchase of farebox equipment, parts, supplies, and services with GenFair LLC, estimated annual cost of $100,000 from October 3rd, 2025 through October 2nd, 2026.
Yes, sir. So with this adoption of this resolution for sole source, it allows us the opportunity to continue to buy parts from our farebox equipment manufacturer, GenFair. Just a little history there. So as you see in the memo, we started the process back in 2006, our contract with GenFair. And so for nearly, what would that be? For nearly 20 years now, we've been in a contract with GenFair, and they've been a great partner with us. I would like to point out that we are noticing, working with the contractor, that our farebox equipment is starting to sunset, and there are certain pieces of that equipment that we're having to work a little bit extra hard to get through the process. So you will see in the coming months an RFP that will go out looking at our fare policy and our farebox equipment, so the equipment that you see on our buses.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on this item? If not, is there a motion to approve? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item C is to approve amendment number 2 and change order number 2 with Terra Construction for the Embark parking garage inspection and repairs at various locations for a cost of $217,587.37.
Yeah, so a pretty large amendment and change order there. Work continues in our garages. If you remember, toward the end of last year, we had KFC come in and do a presentation on the structural status of all of our garages, identifying that they're all in a good state of repair. However, clearly there's maintenance items that need to be taken care of to continue that process of maintaining the good state of repair. And so work began a few months ago, and we're continuing that work. So with this amendment and this change order, first being in amendment number 2, there are quantities that need to be updated when it comes to the patching in the Sheridan Walker garage. So that's whenever they come in and they remove sections of concrete in the floor where they've noticed some deterioration. They come in and remove around that and replace that. And then with the change order, we're also replacing post-tension cables. So one of the things that we've identified in the Sheridan Walker garage is that garage is a post-tension construction. We didn't know that going into it. And with this change order, it replaces some of those post-tension cables that we've identified that needed to be replaced. So change order number 2 is about $11,500. It's an increase of 1.07%, still well below that 10% change order limit. And then amendment number 2 is $205,000, so the total being $216,000.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on this item? If not, is there a motion to approve? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to item number D is to adopt a resolution of the Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority authorizing the administrator to apply for surface transportation block grant urbanized area funds for the Embark fiscal year 2029 CNG bus project and approve local match funding estimated at $412,283.
Yes, sir. So we continue to look to replace our fixed route buses as they get to their useful life. We've done a fantastic job of keeping them up to date. Appreciate our maintenance department, appreciate the support of the board to allow us to continue to do that. So with this grant application, we'd be looking for a total of $2,061,417. So the grant amount would be $1.6 million, and the local match being that 20% match of $412,000. So with that, just a little over $2 million, we'd be looking to get 3 CNG buses to continue our fleet replacement. And then just a reminder to follow in the board's recommendation to move toward alternative fuel. We're continuing to move in that direction, and we hope to have all of our diesel-powered buses off the road and all of our buses being CNG or other alternative fuel within the next year to year and a half.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments about item B? If not, is there a motion to adopt? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Item E, we're going to go ahead and move to the heel of the docket in order to possibly enter into executive session. So moving on to item F is to approve the agreement with Kimberly Horn and Associates for the Transit Center feasibility study of the cost not to exceed $1,700,000 with a period of performance from October 3rd, 2025 to April 2nd, 2027.
Yes, sir. Back in September of 2024, COPTA was awarded a RAISE grant, that's the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, for a total of $5.8 million. And so that was really 2 projects. And so with that grant, we were able to move toward A&E services for the transit feasibility study, which we're talking about today, and also the remainder of that amount of money would go toward the A&E services for a new headquarters. So with this agreement, we would be entering into a contract with Kimberly Horn to take a look at our transit center capacity, right? So when it comes to feasibility, we heard earlier with our long-range transit plan, we're going to continue to grow as an agency. And so what we wanted to do was be able to look at our transit center and essentially say, we can continue to grow up to this point and still be able to use this transit center. And then also with that, we're also going to be looking at how our downtown transit center at Hudson and 4th interacts with the Santa Fe Depot on E.K. Gaylord between Sheridan and Reno, how those two interact, and how they can best serve as we look, best serve the community as we look to also bring on the RTA that would be at the Santa Fe Depot, and how all of that can work together. One last thing to point out also, so while this agreement or this memo mentions $1.7 million, that's broken down by task. And so by awarding this, we are not obligated to enter into an agreement on each and every task. However, we will look at how each task impacts the project, and staff would be recommending work orders for each task.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on this item? I think that as we grow, we're moving forward.
We are.
Planning ahead. So is there a motion to approve?
I'm sorry,
Oh,
the conversation or this study, does it focus only on the existing facility? Does it look at all like in the area around?
Sure. Yeah, so such as like mini hubs, like what we have at Greenfield, those
Oh, no,
types of things.
no, that's fancy. You can talk about that too if you want to.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
okay. So the feasibility study will mainly focus on our downtown transit center, the Santa Fe Depot. Our long-range transit plan looks at those mini hubs. However, with this feasibility study, we have to look at the entire system as a whole, right? And so while it's not directly focusing, it's not going to come back and say, you should put a mini hub here.
Mm-hmm.
It will look to say, hey, with the capacity downtown, it may recommend, should we have a mini hub on the northeast side of Oklahoma City to help with capacity?
Additionally, will it at all discuss like the immediate areas, northeast, south, and west of the existing facility in terms of like, you know, in an ideal world, what would it look like to redevelop
Could we? Sure.
the, you know, row of buildings that are just to the east of the building into,
Right.
I don't know, mixed-use development, or that'd be housing and retail or additional transit administrative offices. I don't know. I'm not the person doing the study, but I just look at everything around that facility and I know that when I've gone sometimes to other, cities and I'm departing or arriving at their transit hub, there's those sorts of additional facilities. I don't know if it's going to look at that. Maybe this isn't the study to do that, just asking.
Yeah, so task 6, development of draft scenarios, would look at the possibility, could there be development around it? Could there be expansion at the transit center? If we're meet capacity, do we need to expand, or would the best form of growth be expanding our transit center at 4th and Hudson? But specifically when it comes to development around the transit center, no, we would be looking at specifically transit. Right, so something like that, we may want to look at some sort of TOD planning study around the transit center.
Yeah, I'd like to see something like that. And then that makes me think too about just the Santa Fe depot and transit-oriented development there. So, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Again, moving on to approve item F, is there a motion that's been moved and seconded? Please vote electronically. The motion passes. Item G is to adopt a resolution authorizing free fare on fixed routes, bus, rapid transit Northwest, Zone 1 and Zone 1A, ADA, paratransit, and streetcar services on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025.
Yes, sir. So each year we bring an item, usually in June, and to identify the free fare days, election days, special elections. So as we do that in June, we do our best to identify all of those special elections or elections for the next fiscal year. We recently had a new one that popped up, and so we want to make sure that we stay in our authority of being able to allow those free fares and those special elections. So this item would keep us in accordance with that.
Okay, are there any comments or questions about this item? If not, is there a motion to adopt Resolution G? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on to item 7 is the ratification of claims and payroll for the period of August 20th, 2025 through September 23rd, 2025. Is there a motion to ratify? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to item 8 is to receive our financial reports. Today we have the annual financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 and 2023, and Amy Parker from the City Accounting Office is here to go over the report that's at your desk.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Trustees. I'm excited to be here this morning to present your FY24 audited financial statements. The external auditors that did this audit for us are Allen, Gibbs, and Hulick, referred to as AGH. AGH issued an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you can get on a set of audited financial statements, so we were really excited about that. But I did want to point out that we did have a finding this year. It was in relation to the implementation of the new ERP system, the challenges that we had with that implementation, and there were some audit adjustments that were missed by our staff. But I want you to know that those adjustments have been made on the books, and so the financial statements that you do have are materially correct, and those entries have been made. And so again, with the finding, we were still excited that they issued us an unmodified opinion, because that, again, is what we look for and what we strive to present. The financial statements comply with all relative pronouncements issued by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. I also wanted to mention, I know you guys have a part of the single audit. The single audit is still currently in process for the city for the fiscal year 2024. They're working on it right now and working with staff. It's anticipated that this report will be issued in the next month once the audit is complete. The authority's net position for fiscal year 2024 increased by $1.5 million to $119.1 million. The net capital assets increased by $500,000 or by 0.5%. The operating revenues throughout the year remained stable for 2024. Remind you, this is fiscal year 2024, so we're looking 18 months back, so this is not current what's going on. Operating expenses increased $11.1 million for a total of $70.9 million for 2024. This was primarily personnel services, the increase there. Net non-operating revenues increased $1.3 million for a total of $57.0 million for 2024. The difference between the additional subsidy received and the lower operating grants received. This is a look at the COPTA retirement piece. Net position restricted for pension benefits increased $2.8 million. The planned fiduciary net position as a percentage of the total pension liability is at 95.33% as of the 7/1/2023 actuarial study. That was an increase from the year before, which is always good news. And with that, I would ask if there's any questions.
The wages, could we go back to that slide it was the one that showed the wages and the labor being why we were seeing this one before that.
It was the personnel
Yes.
services on.
What's responsible for that? Is that the additional new BRT or in these sorts
That was my understanding when we were doing our fluxes of the funds, is that it took new personnel to staff the new rapid transit lines that we implemented.
Yeah, Trustee, we also, so with the BRT, we also moved our maintenance shop to be 24/7. So that allowed us to be able to, so where there's some additional expenses there, employee expenses. And then we also, if you remember, recently we started taking over the cleaning of our COPTA-owned bus stops. And so additional expenses with employees there also.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? I'm glad to see that the pension plan is at where it is. Up in the 90s is a lot better than where it was a few years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, shooting for that 100%.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, do we need a motion to receive this financial report, annual financial report for 2024? Is there a motion to receive? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Our program reports then, we have two of them to present today. The first one is our mobility management report. Marilyn?
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? You're enjoying this semi-fall weather, although I kind of feel like summer's a little clingy right now and doesn't seem to want to go away. But it's really great to be here with you today. I want to let you know that some of the numbers on my slide are going to give you where we ended last fiscal year as of June 30th, but I've also got some numbers for where we're sitting in the first 2 months of the current fiscal year. So just a reminder, we do a lot of things for the very small amount of team. Last year, we were incredibly pleased to see that we did almost hit 140,000 trips. Didn't quite make it there. It's absolutely amazing how much we've grown in the last few years. I had somebody ask me that, and so I started making a slide, and it really blew my mind. We have increased services by about 63.5% since just before COVID. You can see, obviously, 2021 was a little bit low there because we had to close down so many things. But I'm just really proud of my team. They've really, really stepped up to the plate on some of these programs, have really pushed them. Our outreach efforts, having our mobility navigator position, have really helped us make connections in the community. So these are our senior services. For the first 2 months of the current fiscal year, we've done just over 6,000 trips. As you can see here, we are seeing that medical number for non-emergency medical trips continue to go up and up and up. We are looking at alternative funding sources for that to meet the growing need. I was doing a little bit of research. In the last 12 years, 72% growth in the population over the age of 65 in Oklahoma County alone. It's pretty huge. And so we want to make sure that we're positioned over the next few years as that number continues to increase, and we have what they call the silver tsunami coming from the baby boomers. We're really trying to position ourselves correctly to meet that need. Our community development programs are doing really well. We received over 85 applications for bus passes through this program for nonprofit partner agencies. Those awards have been completed, and they just last month started coming to pick up their past allocations. I wanted to remind you that last year, we had some additional funding provided to us, and so we were able to provide many more bus passes, over 20,000 more than we'd had the year before. But just under this regular program, we exceeded 60,000 bus passes, and that does not include that additional money. Our Sheriff Air program is getting a second look. As you can see, utilization has kind of gone down in that program. We've done some studies. We've reached out to partner agencies across the country, asking them how they run their trip subsidy programs, how they fund them. Staff has some really good ideas that they're working through in a proposal, and I'm hoping to bring that for some discussion soon, so that we can get that 68 number up there where it belongs. Our partnership programs working with Remerge Hope House in Palomar ended last year providing just over 12,000 trips. We will exceed that exponentially this year. Just in 2 months of the current fiscal year, we're already at 2,500 trips. So we are going to expand on that. Climb Right Child Welfare is doing very well. Reminder, this is in Oklahoma County. We're serving 100 of the most needy families with no transportation access to help them stabilize. Last year, we did 5,530 trips. Our staff is embedded at the DHS office up near Chesapeake, near the juvenile court system. We are working on an update to our program outcome reports. I'm going to give you a little sneak preview right now. If you'll recall, during the report we did in 2022 at the end of the Transportation Innovation Grant, we were able to close one case in 12 months. That was the soonest a child welfare case had ever gone through the system that quickly. She's not able to be here today because she's in training and working with her participants, but I wanted to recognize Adrienne Harold. She closed 2 cases last month in 8 months. 8 months, from start to finish. The amount of savings to DHS for case support is just phenomenal there, and they can put it in these kind of programs for prevention, so it's just exciting. Really proud of her. We're doing really well with the transition age youth expansion over at Pivot. We are serving all 50 tiny home youth. We've been operating about 9 months. The first 9 months we did about just a little over 3,000 trips. We're working really well with the youth. Things are going really well. We have several of them that have gotten what is considered a living wage job in Oklahoma City with benefits now, or retirement. One of the young youth is in line to get a promotion at Amazon to become a supervisor of his shift. And here's the best part. We have 4 of them enrolled in college. They started last month. None of them were enrolled in college before this program. Embarkwell is doing well as well. You can see the growth in this program. Last board meeting, you approved the 5310 program of projects. One of the things we have done is put an operating assistance grant in to help us meet this growing need, because we expect that 6,400 from last year to probably increase by about 3,000 this year. So we want to make sure that we were positioned with funding to be able to meet that growing need. It does make a huge difference. Yesterday I attended the statewide health improvement team meeting. Embarkwell is one of the things that they talk about on a statewide level, trying to figure out how they can put this in rural communities to help those seniors. I wanted to share a real brief thing on our 5310 funding stream. We have done all the awards. We're about to execute grant agreements with these subrecipients. We have gotten our grant approval from the Federal Transit Administration, so as soon as they finish their fiscal year close, we will start issuing notices to proceed on these projects. But we're awarding 13 vehicles to these agencies. In addition to that, we have 2 agencies receiving assistance for computer-aided dispatcher scheduling projects for software or hardware. We have 3 agencies that are getting a preventative maintenance grant. That helps them offset 80% of their preventative maintenance cost on these vehicles to make it more affordable for them to provide transportation services. And then, of course, as I said, we have the 2 operating assistance grants that we put in to help us meet the growing need in these 2 programs. And then lastly, we put a small amount of money in there to work around the senior housing facilities here in Oklahoma City with the Oklahoma City Housing Authority. We have a couple of locations that need some new sidewalks. That is an eligible expense under 5310, so over the next few years, we'll be working to try to rectify some of those needs. And with that, that's all I have, and I'll take some questions if you have any.
Are there any questions for Marilyn?
Thank you.
If not, thank you. Our second program report that we're going to hear today is from Eugene Fritz on the presentation on the safety, security, and training programs.
Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing this morning? So, as you know, unfortunately, the streetcar shut down for a couple of weeks, 3, 4, 5 weeks maybe. So we're trying to utilize that time to cross-train some supervisors. So on the streetcar side, 4 are being trained to get their CDL license. So Byron, who works for me, is training those employees. And then bus supervisors, there's 3 bus supervisors being trained to operate streetcars. Avery Pringle, who works for Delano, she's working with those supervisors to train them up. And then, so the streetcar shut down, but the bus operation is still going. So we're trying to rotate in the other bus supervisors in while the streetcar is shut down. We're testing out Avery's juggling skills to train the 3, and then we throw in some more to train them and try to get them caught up as much as possible on what the streetcar supervisors are doing. So this is a really cool story here. So as you know, ODOT is like an arm to the FTA. So part of that is the FTA will come in and they will audit ODOT. Part of that process is they get to audit us as well. So when they were doing that, when we were doing when they were going over our safety data collection part, we use a program called Smartsheet. So Smartsheet is like basically Microsoft Excel on steroids. Molly is I'm not sure if it's an official expert, but she is an expert level in Smartsheet. So they were really impressed with her that they asked her to be part of a panel at the FTA RTA conference that they do once a year. So she was up there doing a presentation on the safety data collection with 2 or 3 other agencies. So yeah, it was really good. And she represented Embark really well. So our bus safety specialist, Teresa Treader, so she's our bus safety specialist. She's doing a great job. So she manages accidents. She maintains our hazard logs. So this, she's training with the state to be our third-party examiner. So a few years ago, I mentioned that Dino Ross was our very first one. So this allows us, so Byron and Tavis train the employees. We're actually able to train them right on the property. We're actually using the airport property, but we're actually able to schedule them with Dino. So a couple days after they're ready to go, Dino's able to test them, and it speeds up our process significantly. In the past, we used to have to send them out to Hinton to get tested. So with this, Teresa will be another third-party examiner that we'll have. So we'll have 2. We're going to try and work on getting another one. So hopefully by the end of October, she'll be an official third-party examiner. She also supports with our SSOC committee, our Safety, Security, and Operations Committee, and she does a lot of bus stop assessments as well. Sharon Jansen is our rail safety specialist, and she was brave enough to attend. She is here. So she works over at the streetcar facility with Delano. She works for me, but works closely with Delano. She's working a lot with, she's conducting our track access training and our yard and shop training. She's actually rewritten both of those. She's working on improving the SOP process, and she's also working on, she used to work with us on the bus side as well, so she's working on trying to get the efficiencies between the bus and the streetcar SOPs, trying to get them together, marry them up, see where we create efficiencies there. updating SOPs, she's doing a lot of the rewriting of some of the training materials. She's also currently working on our full-scale exercise, so she's working closely with Captain George. We have another meeting with them in the bunker. Craig working on our full-scale exercise, which is coming up sometime in February. I forget the date, but it is in February. And then she also helps keep us compliant with the FTA and the ODOT regulations. So document updates. So Molly, who is not here, she's working on our PTASP updates. So I'll be back for that fun and exciting presentation, probably around January, where I'll go over our safety plans for both the streetcar and the bus side and go over all the updates from the regulations that have changed. Roadway protection plan. This is a regulation that came out. We kind of get wrapped up in this. It's designed really for larger transit agencies that have larger maintenance crews that are actually working on the tracks and things like that. We have seven mighty and powerful streetcar maintenance employees, so we have to create a plan for them to meet the regulations, and to keep the employees safe. So we're working on that. That is due, I think it's a December 1st or 2nd. And then we're always looking for ways to find out how we can make efficiencies with our SOPs, with the streetcars and the buses, which I talked about before. I believe that's it. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Eugene?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, those are our program report presentations today. Is there a motion to go ahead and receive our program reports for this month? It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving back to item E under our individual considerations, we have item E1 is to adopt a resolution to authorize and direct the municipal councilor to prepare and file any and all necessary paperwork to effectuate settlement on behalf of COPTA without admitting liability in a lawsuit filed in Oklahoma County District Court by Reginald Gooseby versus COPTA, and or to enter into executive session on advice of municipal councilor to receive confidential communications from its attorney concerning the above claim because disclosure would seriously impair the ability of the public body to deal with the pending litigation in the public interest. So is there a motion to enter into executive session? I think. Okay, it's been moved by Robert and seconded by Meg. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. So we will go ahead and enter into executive session. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, item E was taken care of before we entered into executive session, so we will move.
Yes, yes. I believe we had already read the adoption of a resolution and entering into executive session. Okay, then if we could just do an adoption of the resolution.
Okay. So we will go ahead and vote on to adopt the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote electronically. Motion passes. Moving on into items from the trustee. Robert? Meg? Jason? Nope. James?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Embark and to Planning and Public Works for the installation of the sidewalks on Northwest Expressway from the park and ride at Meridian for the last 8 weeks. And in fact, tonight's the end of an 8-week high school class. I've never taught high school before, but Odyssey Leadership Academy reached out to me in the spring and asked me to teach actually fitting to a conversation Meg and I were just having, a horror literature class. I didn't ask for it. They came to me. As y'all know, they came to me for that. And it was a difficult class to shape because it's high schoolers. And so how do you do it? So we ended up assigning some very influential scholars in the horror academy to them. And the students, of course, we had to edit out certain pages and paragraphs of the scholarship to make it age appropriate. But the ideas were tough and they engaged them. It was so cool. But we started with film actually and TV, watched the old Friday the 13th TV series, an episode of that, actually about childhood abuse. So when I was looking at Dr. Dillon's presentation, that was interesting. We watched the Care Bears movie from the 1980s. And they were like, why are we watching the Care Bears in a horror literature class? And then they watched it alongside an essay on the occult genre. And they're like, oh, got it. It makes total sense now. Watched Child's Play, the 1950s invasion of the Body Snatchers, all so that they could ultimately read the novel Dracula. It was all preparing them, because these kids mostly, they don't read, right? They're watching things on their phone, so we had to trick them through screens. But then they really dug down deep into Dracula and had incredible things to say about that. So that's just the exposition to say that I had to drive. I'd had surgeries recently in late August, so the idea of like walking to the transit wasn't something I was really thrilled to do, so I drove. But I'm glad I did that drive on Expressway because I got to see the installation of the sidewalks that are there. And as I would pull into the school, which is actually located right behind a church there, Pastor John Mendendorf's church. There's a community center behind the school, and that's where Odyssey students meet. I would teach from 9:30 to noon, and at noon they would break to go to lunch, and the kids often would go to Jason's Deli, which is just to the east of the school and the church. For all these years, those kids have been apparently walking in the right-of-way in the grass along Northwest Expressway. So speaking of safety, right, there was a complete lack of safety. And by the way, these kids are all ages from like kindergarten through senior year, walking in the grass alongside something called Northwest Expressway. To see the construction happening was really cool. And I didn't talk to them about my city council role until about 4 weeks into the class, and I brought it up to them within the context of why we do sidewalks next to transit stations. And they really appreciated, I mean, seeing those sidewalks in, it's not something that they are utilizing. But I want to dig down just a little deeper. It wasn't just the sidewalks, there's like a culvert there that we had to build around. We had to build new water connectivity that was there. I mean, it was just it was quite the feat. And so I just really want to applaud staff in terms of the coordination and the implementation of those sidewalks, because that connectivity ultimately really matters to our students and ultimately everybody. But just wanted to bring that to your attention if you get a chance to see those sidewalks. And in fact, tonight I'm going to take the bus rapid transit from Classen up to they call it a celebration of learning. And tonight's going to be where they're going to do presentations on what they've learned for the parents in the community. So I'm excited to, I think, what is this week called? A week without a car or something like this. So I wasn't able to do that for most of the week, but tonight I'm going to take the BRT up there to Expressway and Meridian, and I'm so excited that we have that service there, and I'm even more excited that we have that first mile, last mile connectivity now. So just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
That's great. Okay, Robert?
I would be remiss not to say thank you to Embark for being present at the Fiestas Patrias Festival. It was a kickoff for Hispanic Heritage Month. It's been lovely to see not only Embark, but also the city president, so many of our community events during this time. So I just wanted to extend that thank you to not only Embark, but to the city in general. So.
Good, thank you. And I think we have a new Assistant Director of Operations. And so I'll let Jesse mention that along with his other comments.
Yeah, so we do actually, and we anticipate his first presentation to the board next month, giving a transit update. Yeah, so Carli Barnaby, he's been at least part of the family since 2017. So when we hired Herzog Transit, June of 2017, appreciate the board allowing us to do that. He came on board as the OKC Streetcar General Manager as part of the Herzog team. You know, we did a lot during those 3 years there. And then around, I believe it was 2021, or early in 2020 timeframe, we hired Carli to come over and run our entire bus operations. Carli's been part of public transit for over 25 years. He originally started at the HART system in Tampa. He came over to Atlanta, stood up their Atlanta streetcar and kind of got them where they needed to be, and then he joined Herzog and came to Oklahoma City. But we did offer him the position to be Assistant Director of Operations last Friday, and he accepted, and he's already hit the ground running, so he's doing a lot, so really appreciate that. And like I said, he'll be here next meeting to give a presentation update. I do have several updates, but I'll be quick. Just to tag along to what you had mentioned about the sidewalks, I want to give a quick shout out to Christina and her team and Marty and really the entire FTA Region 6 group. So if you guys remember, we wrapped up the Rapid Northwest. It's been nearly 2 years now, but we were able to complete that project on time and well under budget. We were actually about $1.8 million under budget. So we took that $1.8 million and we bought a bunch of spare parts. And after we've done that, we identified that we have about $1 million left over. And really for the last 10 months, we've been working with Region 6 to try to figure out how we can be able to use those funds to be able to add additional sidewalks along Classen. And things, like I said, thanks to Christina and her team working with Region 6, we've identified a way to do that. So we will be, the city will be reimbursed for projects that we've done close to about $1 million, and then we'll be able to use that $1 million to do a project through Public Works to add additional sidewalks along Classen to be able to make those connections. So super, super excited about that and continuing that the first last mile promise that we've made to our customers. And then quick update, we're nearing completion of the Penn sidewalk connection between the stop there at the northeast corner of Penn and Northwest Expressway to the Penn Square Mall. All that's left now is installing railing. So the sidewalk is there, all the grading is done, we just got to do the railing to make that complete. And then that's as far as the BRT goes, and then just some general updates. So as mentioned earlier, our streetcar we suspended service this past Monday to help support the demolition of the Prairie Surf Myriad Convention Center or Cox Convention Center, depends on how old you are, what you remember it as, but all three of those to help support that demolition. So essentially what is happening is to be able to do that demo, they have to come in and install sheet piling. So these big pieces of metal, they drive them into the ground that prevents the parking garage that's below from caving in on the demo site. And so to be able to do that, they actually have to set up equipment on the streetcar tracks, and we've worked with them to make sure that our streetcar tracks are protected while they're doing that with the heavy equipment. But essentially, the streetcar will be suspended for about 4 weeks. However, we are still providing service along the streetcar route. We're using what's called a bus bridge. If you've been to like New York City or anything like that, anytime they're doing maintenance, they have a bus bridge. We're doing the same thing. Our buses are running along the alignment, picking up folks at the streetcar stops. And then also, so the Thunder season starts soon. We will continue what we did last year with the Prairie Surf parking garage going away. That's the loss of nearly 1,000 parking spaces. We've reallocated a majority of those to either our Arts District garage or our Sheridan Walker garage, and we'll continue to provide that shuttle service with our buses, picking folks up at those garages and taking them to the front door of the arena. And then if you parked in the Arts District garage, you'll notice a lot of work going on there. So in the Arts District garage, we're removing the waterproof coating that's on the first floor as you drive up. So what that does, it's concrete, it's porous, and so with that coating, it prevents any water seepage through the concrete. We've got a lot of businesses and retail on that first floor, so we want to make sure we maintain that. So that's what's going on in the Arts District garage. I think we may have set a record for the most signs set out for a construction project, but we wanted to make sure that we got the message across to everybody that there could be potential impact. And then finally, earlier this week, several of our staff, ACM Fairbrush, Gail Lissy with Region 6, and Don Sullivan with ODOT. We all met with the LA 28 folks. So several of them were in town, and we were able to show them the public transit service that we provide. We talked a lot about the shuttle service that we provide to the Softball Hall of Fame during the Women's College World Series, and really just kind of talked about logistics and how we can help support the games that would be represented here in Oklahoma City. So that was kind of our kickoff with them, but we'll continue to meet with them regularly, and looking forward to what the next 3 years hold. That's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you. If there's no more comments or questions, then we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.